Dear ladies and gentlemen, дорогі українці, we are continuing the series of conversation and interviews with intellectuals in Ukraine, with those around the world who are keen to hear from those closer to the root sources. This is a project of PEN Ukraine, and the entire team is in Ukraine right now, working in the extremely difficult conditions of the ongoing war. We all admire your courage and dedication to spread the truth and uphold the freedom of expression. І ми продовжуємо серію розмов чи інтерв'ю з інтелектуалами в Україні і з тими, хто по всьому світу прагне бути ближче до перших джерел. Це проєкт українського ПЕН, вся команда якого нині перебуває в Україні і працює в надскладних умовах війни. Ми всі захоплюємося вашою сміливістю і відданістю поширенню свободи слова і правдивої інформації. The project is co-hosted by PEN International, which has continued to provide the platform for freedom of expression for those currently under the highest risk. Our partners for today are PEN America, the Ukrainian Institute London, and the Harvard University Ukrainian Research Institute. We are also streaming today's event on the PEN Finland Facebook page. Співорганізатором проєкту є PEN International, який підтримує обізнаність і надає платформу для свободи слова для тих, хто зараз знаходиться у зоні найбільшого ризику. Нашими партнерами в цьому проєкті є PEN Америка, Український інститут Лондона, Український науковий інститут Гарвардського університету. Окрім цих партнерств, сьогоднішню подію ми також транслюємо на сторінку PEN Фінляндія. I will switch to English to present our today's speakers. Перемикаюсь на англійську, аби представити сьогоднішніх спікерок. Захід відбуватиметься англійською. So, today we will hear the voices from Lviv and Helsinki. Our Ukrainian speaker, Victoria Amelina, is my good friend and award-winning writer living in Ukraine and the United States. She's the author of The Fall Syndrome and Dawn Dreams Kingdom, which won the Best Prose Book Award at the Zaporizhzhia Book Festival and was shortlisted for numerous prestigious awards. Her most recent novel tells the story of a city with a dramatic history, where the silence about past wars and mass murders is so unbearable that only an abandoned dog can trace the secrets and speak for the people who still cannot speak for themselves. Nowadays, the situation seems to have run the opposite way. We can speak about the war, but what else can we do? We also have with us one of the most awarded literary authors in Scandinavia, whose work has been translated into more than 40 languages. Finnish-Estonian novelist and playwright Sofi Oksanen is an icon of her field, incorporating historical and contemporary issues into her writing. Her sixth novel is entitled The Dog Park. How symbolic, one more dog. And Victoria and Oksana, stage is yours. And dear viewers, please remember that you can ask your questions in comments. Sofi?
Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us for this conversation. Victoria, where are you now and what are you doing? I know that everybody is very occupied with defending country, but what does it actually mean for an author, and what your family members are doing? How are they?
Thank you, Sophie. Thank you, everyone who is here with us today. It's an honor and it's a great privilege to spend an hour, or I think we have 40 minutes to spend 40 minutes with friends all over the world who are listening to us. I actually am not really prepared for this talk because I was busy all day at the warehouse of the Humanitarian aid, and we were trying to sort it out and to send it as quickly as possible to the parts of the country where it is needed the most. Mainly right now I'm in Lviv. It's the west of Ukraine, and so far it is relatively safe. Although we do have sirens here, and there is always a danger that we will be attacked from the air as well, because Lviv is not far from Ukrainian Belarusian border. And as you know, right now, Russian troops are coming not just from Russia, but also from Belarus. So the distance is not that we're not too far, so missiles can come here as well. But so far, our air defense managed to stop them. So far, the city of Lviv is quite safe, and it is full of refugees. So during the days I'm here, because the war for me started when I was on vacation. I was on vacation in Egypt. Right now, it seems like it was a completely different past life that we had, and I had fun with my family. And then on the February 24th, we tried to board the plane back home. It was a scheduled flight from Marsa Alam, Egypt, to Lviv. It was scheduled to depart 7:30, but as you know, on February 24th, about 5 a.m., Russian Federation started full-scale invasion of Ukraine. So when we arrived at the airport, Egyptians told us, "Do you know what happened?" And they explained to us that we won't be able to go home because it is not possible now, and of course civilian airplanes would not be accepted because many airports in Ukraine have already been attacked and bombed by Russian army. So we spent 2 days trying to get back home because we wanted to. Of course, I left my son with family in Krakow, so my son is safe. And I came back to actually volunteer, and this is what I'm doing now, trying to help as much as I can, mostly not as a writer, not as a speaker, but as a person who can connect people, who can sort out humanitarian aid, etc. So that's what I'm doing. And right now in my apartment, I have friends who came from Kyiv. They came yesterday, so they spent, I think, too much time in Kyiv under attack. So, for instance, I have here Tanya Taran, a program director of PEN Ukraine. She came and she spent on the road from Kyiv to Lviv 3 days. Usually it's about 6 hours, but now it took 3 days. And of course, it was a very dangerous trip. But right now they are here and they brought their 3 cats. So if I had to mention something good about war, I already had hosted here little spaniel from Kyiv. The spaniel and his family have already moved further to Poland. And right now I have 3 cats here. So this is the fun side. I can host my friends here and their animals, their pets.
In Finland, people have been very, well, the whole nation is, of course, supporting Ukraine. And to my surprise, Finland also gave ammunition to Ukraine, and that hasn't ever happened before. Finland doesn't give guns. So this was, so I'm actually surprised how determined also Finland has been, not only ordinary people, but also on the government level, because Finland is known to be very cautious when it comes to Russia. But now ordinary people are definitely, everybody wants to help somehow. So what is the best way to help at the moment? Monetary aid for humanitarian organizations. Could you perhaps, mention few of them that you could recommend that this is they have the logistics and people on spot?
First of all, there is an official account of Ukrainian Defense Ministry. So this is the most, I think, this is the best way because it is a centralized channel, and of course they have all possibilities to actually just go ahead and arm themselves. So this is a good way. And I think that Olga or Oksana could mention it in the comments on Facebook while we are speaking. It's Povernись живим, and I think it's website is Save Life in UA or something like that, but it's better to wait until Olha or Oksana probably mention it in the comments section, so you won't mistake. But and you can actually connect with me, and I will of course type it for you later. But also, I think humanitarian aid is, of course, very important, and we do need especially medical supplies. It's very important. We do need ammunition, and it's quite hard to get. I was working on trying to get helmets and other ammunition for our guys, and it's very difficult right now because even in Poland we Ukrainians bought almost everything they had, so we keep searching further and further, and we need it very much. But I think the most important thing is still for people in Finland and people across Europe, in Canada, United States, get to the streets and actually ask your governments to help us with our air defense. We do need no-fly zone over Ukraine. We do need you to interfere, because right now, while we are speaking, Russian forces are actually destroying Ukrainian cities. They aimed their missiles at civilians, hospitals, schools, churches, everything, and it's so devastating. And we will win anyway, but depending on whether NATO countries help us and close the sky or not, we will have either thousands of people dead or millions. So it is really up to your governments now. And if you could, I don't know, take some hours to get to the streets, to get to the squares and demand they help us, that would mean a lot to us. That would actually save our lives.
Thank you. And everybody who wants to support, also check the links in the comment section. I'm sure you have already shared them. Well, from Finnish point of view, Finland has a history with a spirit of winter war, and that's still a living memory and part of our historical identity as well. And Finns have been following the defense, Ukrainian defense, and we can see the same spirit of winter war. That is, those of you who don't know the history of Finland, then Finns have been fighting or defending our country against the Russian aggression quite many times, and winter war was the war where nobody was expecting. Nobody was actually, well, Sweden did give us guns, but otherwise we were on our own. And it was kind of miracle how it is called a miracle. I'm not sure if it was a miracle because people wanted to defend their country. It is as simple as that. But we did have we were facing an attack by someone who was much bigger than us. So, and now we can see that, you know, you do have the spirit of winter war in Ukraine as well, and people are very, you are very well organized as a nation. So could you tell us about the spirit in general?
I wonder if you know, because I know that you've, I think you're friends with Andrei Kurkov, so maybe you've heard of the musical band we have, and the band is called Mannerheim Line.
Yes.
Yes. So we have a band named Mannerheim Line, and I used to, and I will continue, of course, organizing a New York Literary Festival. We have a small town called New York. It was founded by German colonists in the east of Ukraine in 19th century. So last year, and it was located on the front line between Russian-controlled territory and actually, and Ukrainian and free Ukrainian territory from 2014 to 2022 right now. So it was the first festival on the front line, and I personally invited the Mannerheim Line Band to come and play Mannerheim Line song, which is their song, you know, at the front line of Russian-Ukrainian war in 2021. Now, of course, this festival is not the only festival which is located on the front line, because the entire country is now actually a war zone. But yeah, I think even your experience is really important to us, and we do know. And actually, I won't be looking for this book right now, but I'm sure that behind my back I have a book about winter war, about your war. And actually the spirit is so incredible. I've been driving from this warehouse with humanitarian aid to my home to speak to you. And I was listening to the radio. Of course, right now our state radio is broadcasting on all the stations. And I was listening to the news. I was listening how people in encircled Kherson, the city of Kherson, are protesting despite the fact that they have Russian troops there, and the troops were shooting in the air. But people, although they don't have any weapon, they were just having Ukrainian flags, and they wouldn't leave the streets, and people just continued protesting and saying that Kherson is Ukraine. And I was listening to it and honestly crying, although it's probably not a good idea to cry while you're driving, but still I did. And I have my sister in the city of Kherson, and she's protesting too. She's very brave, and she's just a woman, and she knows that Russian troops are in the city, but still she continues posting about how her city is, of course, a Ukrainian city, and that they won't let Russians to prevail. So, and it's happening all over Ukraine, and people are really united. We have this, we call it paraklichka. I don't know how to say it in English, but people write on Facebook like, Ukraine, how are you? And people start telling that I'm in Kyiv, we hear shelling, but we're fine. We are, I don't know, in town of New York in the Donetsk, but we're fine and we keep working. So we have this solidarity, and I don't know, I think the spirit is really great, and we are really angry. Honestly, we're really angry. And my first language, my mother language, was Russian, but right now, you know, I'm so angry I cannot speak Russian anymore. It started in 2014, of course, but right now I think that Russia just broke all ties with Ukraine, and they are bombing Russian-speaking cities now. And I think this will change mind of many people there. I think that many people in Mariupol or Kharkiv wouldn't believe that Russians could be so cruel to them. Right now, we just can see that there's nothing but hatred from Russian side.
Yes, you actually answered my question. I was going to ask that how is the Russian-speaking population reacting to the fact that actually Putin is killing them? Not a friendly way to protect those famous protection of Russian speakers. What do you think? What does it mean when you think about the future of the languages in Ukraine? You know, there are many. Finland is actually also a bilingual country. Swedish and Finnish are both bilingual languages. But what does it mean to we who don't know the Russian and Ukrainian languages? So do you think that Russian what is the identity of the writing language? That what I was going to, that is the most important tool for writing. And if you face this kind of situation, how does it affect your most important tool, that is the language?
Well, you see, we have, as you know, Andrei Kurkov is still writing in Russian, but we also have writers who used to write in Russian. And these are writers from Donetsk, and right now they're not able, or they don't want to write in Russian anymore. For example, a writer who is now in Kyiv, Olena Styashkina, she had to flee Donetsk in 2014. She was a prominent Russian speaking, or I don't know, author of writing in Russian language, and she had some awards from Russia, actually received there. But gradually she learned Ukrainian, and her last novel about Russian-Ukrainian war and about her native city of Donetsk is bilingual. The book starts in Russian, but it ends in Ukrainian, and it reflects the change in minds and in characters of main heroine, I would say. So I think it reflects the situation. Volodymyr Rofeyenko, another prominent author from long-occupied Donetsk, also wrote his first novel in Ukrainian. So writers are trying to switch to Ukrainian. They do want to do that. I actually started writing in Russian as well, but since I live in Lviv, I'm actually totally bilingual, so it wasn't such a big deal for me, and all my novels are published in Ukrainian, although I'd say my first language was Russian too. So I think this change is happening, and this full-scale invasion just will speed it up. So of course they made it really worse for Russian language in Ukraine. They did it with their own hands. But of course, if we see right now a lot of videos of fighting, of people protesting in the streets, and a lot of people fighting against Russian invasion are saying they are speaking Russian because this is their native language, and they still fight against Kremlin and against Putin and against Russian occupation here. So I don't think language issue is a big deal. I think it's Russian Federation who always tried to make it look like a big deal, but in fact, it's no problem. And in Ukraine, we have, I think, a unique situation when a lot of people can just talk in two languages simultaneously, like one person would speak Russian and the other will answer in Ukrainian, and they just don't switch. They just talk like that in two languages, and this is not an issue at all.
Well, could you tell us something about the history of Ukrainian language? Because Ukrainian language has met a lot of difficulties over the centuries. It's been banned many times. The education in Ukrainian language has been banned as well, and that's probably one of the reasons why Gogol, for example, wrote in Russian, because he was those of you who might think that Gogol was Russian author, then he was actually born in Ukraine to a Ukrainian-speaking language, but he wrote in Russian. And Russians, of course, think that Gogol is a Russian author, but maybe it's worth checking the facts anyway. So, how could you give us a short introduction to Ukrainian language history?
Yeah,
it's a huge topic.
Yeah, it's a huge topic, and of course, I know. I think that everyone knows that actually the history, the 1,000-year history that Russian Federation is trying to claim theirs is Ukrainian history. So there was Kiev and Rus, and of course, with its center in Kiev. And Slavic languages developed here, and Ukrainian. Because people often ask me when I'm abroad if Ukrainian and Russian are so different. Yes, they are quite different, and Russians do not understand us when we speak Ukrainian. So yes, Ukrainian language was banned. It was prohibited to print books in Ukrainian. It was prohibited to teach Ukrainian in schools. And speaking Ukrainian was really dangerous. And if you look at the 20th century, you'll see that in order to survive, in order to prosper, you had to switch to Russian. And you actually can, of course, just open an article about Ukrainian language somewhere in Wikipedia and read that, but I can tell about my family. I can tell that my grandmothers and my grandfathers were native Ukrainian speakers. But the country underwent a tragical genocide, Holodomor, in 1932-33, and this genocide was destroying people who actually spoke Ukrainian, people who lived in villages and spoke Ukrainian. So people got used and millions of people died. So people got used to an idea that in order to survive, you have to speak Russian. And people who speak Ukrainian either get killed in such genocide act as Holodomor in 1933, or they get killed during repressions, which of course started in mostly in the 1930s. And during that time, most of Ukrainian writers, poets, playwrights were killed by Stalin regime, and they were all creating their art in Ukrainian. So in order to survive, you had to become Russian speaker. You had to acquire this Russian-centric point of view. And this is what happened to many people. And we spent the last 30 years trying to break this spell, trying to bring and get back our own identity, to understand why suddenly Russian is my native language. And I understood that those are the reasons why my grandfather spoke Ukrainian, but my father used to speak Russian, and we had to reclaim our language. We had to understand that it was violence that took away Ukrainian language from us. This is why I made an effort and started writing in Ukrainian, not Russian, because I understood that this is just not fair. This is not fair that our language have been taken from us in such a cruel way.
Yes, and now I would like to recommend to those of you who might not know enough about Holodomor, then Anne Applebaum's excellent nonfiction book, Red Terror, I think it's translated to so many languages that I'm sure that every single one of you can read it in your native language, available also in Finnish. It's a very good and well-written book about Holodomor and how it affected the culture, how it really was also aimed to destroy Ukrainian culture and Ukrainian speakers, and still unfortunate long-term consequences of this politically motivated famine also targeted to culture. Yeah. Please.
I would also recommend to check at least an article on Executed Renaissance to read about how many Ukrainian writers and actually Ukrainian elite was executed. That's why Renaissance is called Executed Renaissance. It was they were purged in 1930s, and this is why we had to spend a lot of time trying to find their books, and some novels are lost. To find their books, to read them again, and to restore this bridge between times in Ukrainian culture. This was really important for us, and most of it happened in Kharkiv in 1930s. So right now you can see news about the city of Kharkiv, and again Ukrainian poets and writers and painters are on the front line and can get killed again. And it would be a tragedy to have some kind of executed Renaissance again.
And also, I would like to recommend our audience a movie, Mr. Jones, which is also about Holodomor. And again, it's unfortunately very timely movie. It's a fresh movie, so it just was released a few years ago. So, but it's about Soviet Union trying to hide Holodomor killing millions of people, and how it affected also the freedom of speech and expression. And unfortunately, Western countries didn't believe this journalist Jones, who eyewitnessed Holodomor. So it's a very good movie. Unfortunately, very timely again because of this propaganda issue.
And Sophie, since you mentioned it, how Western world tried to pretend that there's no this genocide, Holodomor happening in 1930s, how do you feel now? Do you think that Western world and Finland in particular is with Ukraine? Do you think you're doing as much as you can? Not you, but I mean Western world as overall.
I think, to be honest, I have been surprised. If there's a silver lining in all of this, then the unity of Europe and European Union. Even in those countries where they have they've had Putin sympathizers. For example, in France, Marine Le Pen. I don't think that at the moment her pictures with Putin something that she wants to share. Also the very rapid shift the German has made. German has been very cautious, which is weird, as the historical obligation is actually to help Ukraine, in my opinion. So, but German has really changed. The Nord Stream, which, I mean, just a few months ago, it was considered like only economical project, and now it's not anymore. So there's been definitely, it has, the aggression has united European Union very fast, and I don't think Russia was expecting that. Simply, and also the Sweden sending arms to Ukraine is something. I mean, Sweden is the nicest country in the world, so to speak, in a way that they want to be nice to everybody, even into the countries you shouldn't be, or the leaders who shouldn't be, nice. They always try to be nice. And the last time they actually gave ammunition was when Finland was fighting winter war, and that was quite a long time.
Russia hates Sweden so much. You can read all kinds of rumors about what's happening in Sweden because of the LGBTQ community is active there, and actually human rights are at the very good level in Scandinavian countries. And ordinary Russians and propaganda made them, they cannot stand it. They hate this freedom that European nations have. That's why they really hate Sweden. If some Swedes are listening to us, just know it.
Yeah. Okay, well, it is, yeah, but yeah, what has also surprised me is that there's a lot of creative support. I mean, Finland is a country where people, I wasn't suspecting at all that, you know, Finnish, well, wouldn't support Ukraine. There's no question about that at all. But, you know, the creativity of the support, for example, there's this dog owners started an initiative that, you know, it was started as a from the recycling group on Facebook, but dog owners decided to unite, and their protest is to take the dog poop and throw it to the courtyard of Russian embassy, and so.
But do you think that those things could help to get no-fly zone for Ukraine? Because this is what's really important and what would save lives. And
well, the thing is that you know, in a democratic countries, the politicians need to listen to the voters, and that's actually the only thing they are listening. If voters show what is morally correct, then I think, you know, everything simply helps. And not all people are like, you know, demonstrators in a way, but you can demonstrate also in a way that can be creative and actually get much more attention. Also because these all sorts of little things that they show what people think to the politicians. And at the moment, I cannot imagine that a Finnish politician somehow even, you know, being hesitant about how strongly Ukraine needs to be supported, then I'm not sure how popular they are. So in that way, you can show your will in a very many ways, and the more it spreads, the more important it is. You cannot also, it's worth remembering that the power, you've really done an excellent job on social media. Ukraine is very so that, and this is important because, you know, Russia has a huge propaganda machine. They have a lot of money to that as well, and they have been spinning the narration, fake narration or state lies for a very long time. So in that way, that's, but you have you have really, you have won already, you know, the battle against Russian state lies, and that's a big deal. That's definitely a big deal, and it does affect the public opinion also in Western countries. And when I think about, you know, how to spread the word and how to affect the politicians, then when you think about the visual material you get from the demonstrations, they are powerful, but you can use them only once.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not like, you know, it's not like that people's eyes are opening again. You know, if they see the same image, because there's a limited variety of images you can get from the demonstrations, then you know, it can also become something that doesn't wake you up every morning. Even though you have demonstrators, then you get used to them. But you know, with the creativity, you can, you know, make people wake up again, day after day. I mean, this is a long battle. This is a very long battle. So in that way, we need to also find new ways to force politicians to think about this simply. So in that way, it's definitely important to have demonstrations, but I'm just saying that it's not enough. And also because there are how to engage people who don't go to demonstrations. I mean, we need them as well. We need, when you think about, we did have a very big demonstrations, and we are going to have more in Finland. And Finland is not a demonstration country in the same way, like, for example, in France, you can have millions of people rallying, but Finland is not that kind of country. And even though I'm sure, so this was unusually, but I have to say that already when, 100 years ago, when Ukraine got its independence, Finns were demonstrating and supporting already then. So we have a tradition for rallying for Ukraine, but in a way that then, the people who pass the demonstrations or rallies, I mean, even though there is the demonstration even if there was every single day, then you get used to it. And as we really have to, this is a long battle to keep people supporting and not, people have their, in Ukraine, you are definitely 24-hour engaged in defending the country. But in other countries, people also have their jobs, their everyday life. And in that way, we need to wake them up. And we need to know that that's how I think,
You see, nine days ago, we all also had our day-to-day lives and we had our jobs. And I submitted a proposal for a new festival, trying to get funding, some ordinary things. But right now, we just have war. And I think I'm sure that Finnish people know that what Russia is capable of. So we just protect freedom for Europe and for you as well, I think. So please help us, really. And I don't know, Americans can just call their congressman. They have this tool. I don't know, maybe there are tools like this in European Union. Maybe you can just contact the people you voted for and ask them to help us, to help me. I don't know.
Thank you both. And this is exactly what is happening right now in London. A lot of people are writing letters to their MPs, encouraging them to act.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, any very short closing remark?
I also, I'd say I'd encourage people to wear Ukrainian colors. That's also a visible sign that, keeps people's mind and also politicians' mind, focused.
It's also beautiful. Victoria?
Yeah.
We need no-fly zone. I cannot think of anything else. And please close our sky. Please save lives in Kharkiv and Kyiv. We are Europeans, just like you are. Please help save lives of our kids. That sounds pathetic, but that's what we have right now.
It's not.
Thank you both. Thank you, Sofi, for your solidarity and deep questions and some tips. And Victoria, for your priceless input. It's just difficult to believe that you are spending all your days in warehouse helping as a writer, right? This conversation brings light to the most important questions asked by all the thinking people around the world. What is happening and how can I help right now, including fighting propaganda? We are grateful to all our partners for today's event: PEN America, the Ukrainian Institute London, Harvard University Ukrainian Research Institute, and for the cross-streaming service on the PEN Finland Facebook page. PEN International continues to play the role of the platform that supports freedom of expression. Please follow our pages to be informed about the further events for the next week. But most of all, thank you to PEN Ukraine, which continues to stay at the front lines in the name of freedom and truth. We are with you in solidarity. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.